All right, so I'm not sure you can see. Somebody did an epoxy pour and had some issues. But anyway, this is sticking up a little bit and not hardened, which is interesting. But you could see they poured one and then they had to pour a second one, and for whatever reason you can see these little lines and things in here. It looks like those are down a little bit. Looks like that's between the first pour and the second pour, which is unusual. But anyway, what I'm going to do first is scrape off the high points. And yes, I'm making scratches, but I will take those back out, and I'm going to do this section, kind of sand it and go through that whole process, and then see how it looks after. Wow, it's just gooey. Gooey, gooey, gooey. And by trimming this down with the razor blade, just saving time sanding, basically getting it as close as possible. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and sand this. Not sure how much of the process I'm actually gonna get, but something I just wanted to capture is that, and then just the lines in here. Now I want to see, when I take the shine off of this, if that takes away that look as well, just by not reflecting, not being as see-through and reflective. All right, and the other thing is, you see obviously the orange peel, which is always a thing with epoxy, and it's super bright and shiny, which it makes it really hard to actually see what's in the counter, interestingly enough. You know, which are these really cool rocks and stuff from the creek. So see if we can't make it a little bit easier to see. But this is what it looks like now when you look down at it. And then I showed you a couple of the imperfections that we're going to try to get out and go from there. Okay, so I didn't do this epoxy, so I'm not exactly sure what the formula is, but I'm going to just try 400 grit. And usually you don't put a round thing on a square one, but that's what I have. Right now I just have the round. This is for a DA sander, but I do not have the rectangle version, which is this of 400. So I just want to use 400. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross hatch this, which means going this way. It's hard to do left-handed and one-handed. So you just kind of cross hatch this. What we're doing is we're knocking down, see the unevenness as you go across here. You can see everything kind of a little bit wavy. This will knock that down and try to even that up. And then what we do is we bring the shine back, at least to some extent. We don't want it, I don't think we want it as shiny as this is. Can't really see anything when you look at it. But that's what we're doing first. So I'm gonna go ahead and cross hatch an area like this, and then kind of work it back up and see if that works, come up with a formula for what to do the rest of the way. That's the plan. So I'll keep rolling and show you the next step when I get there. All right, the next step I'm going to do just this way is the Abralon 500 pad. This is usually an orbital sander, but I just want to kind of see what happens here. And you can see it's dull, that's normal. Shiny, dull. The other thing you can see is how this is shiny here, but this isn't. Just tells you that there's it's not too bad, but that's a dip in the epoxy right there. But it just goes into this wall. I'm not too worried about that part of it. All right. As you can see, it gets that way. It always gets worse before it gets better. But I'll go ahead and put it on the sander. You can see these scratches here. I'll put it on the sander and do that section and see what it looks like. So I did 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000, which is still on the sander, for the Abralon pads. The Abralon pads have this just kind of a fine mesh scenario where it keeps things much easier, polishes better. I can't use words right now, but anyway, that's what it is. So you can see here what it looks like, and then as we go to here we did, you see the reflection in the window of the window doesn't move as much. See over here where it's not done, you can see it moving. Over here, not so much. And from the top, and we haven't buffed this yet, polished it, but you can see really, really shiny, reflective, dulled down, but still reflective, right? So you can see the stuff there, but you're not looking down and seeing your own face, because that's kind of annoying. But anyway, personal preference for people. You could leave it shiny, or you could do this. And the other thing you'll notice is, so you run your finger across, the finger slides nice and smooth over the other area. You can't notice that in the camera, but it slides nice. That has to do with the even. All right. So that's what we have with block sand, 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000 Abralon. Not spending a bunch of time, obviously. Kind of quick hitting it. And now what I'll do, and again, you see, it looks really dull compared to this because this is like almost like a mirror. But you can still see reflections. But it's more even. And you can actually see what's underneath, because this is a deep pour and they put these rocks in here. Kind of hard to see those when all you see is the reflection. So this is an easier way to see that. I do need to polish it up just a little bit, and clean it. I'll do that and then we'll go from there. All right, so got this to the point where I liked it. Actually used some of the compound as well to get the shine back up close to what it was, but not all the way. So I'm going to just show doing a bigger section here. And again, gonna cross hatch. Just gonna go this way a couple times. This is the block sanding side of it. You could see, I don't know if you can see how it gets kind of cloudy. That just tells you you're taking some material off, which we want to, because we're taking off the high points. You get the idea. I'll just record a little bit of every part of the process for you. I'll be back. So this is what it'll look like after you've done it. And you do want to actually see all these lines, because that tells you that you took some material off. And just wipe it. Get all the stuff off you don't want to keep. You don't want the grit to get into the next phase of the project, so you just want to make sure you wipe all this off. But I wanted to show you what it looked like And that's a good thing because it means there's epoxy that's been sanded off and it's mixed with the water. That's why you use water to keep the dust down, but also to lubricate the pad and to keep it from getting all built up, because lubricating the pad reduces the amount of stuff that gets clogged in here. So anyway. Okay, so I dried that all off. You could see shiny spots. The shiny spots are the low points. Now, here's the thing. The further down you go, the more work it is, of course. If you need it to be perfect or closer to it, you can't ever get perfect, but if you want it to be closer to that, you'd sand down further. I don't have a ton of this paper and really just want to get things looking better, not looking to, and I don't feel, well, a little bit there. So actually what I'll do is I'm going to go over this one more time with the 400 pad, see if we can get some of that out. And you can see that there's a haze forming. That just means the stuff's drying up. But yeah, you can see all that shininess. Really, we want everything to be dull. Ideally, you want everything to be dull. That way you know it's all level. It's all the same because you're using a flat sander. So that means everything's at the same level. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one more time. Try to get it a little bit closer. Not going to get crazy with it, but definitely want to get a little bit down further. Get some of that up, because that'll just help the reflection later be smooth. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, but wanted to show you this part as well as a way to figure out if you need to do more. Okay, this is what it looks like after another block sanding of 400. A lot less shine showing through. There are areas, obviously, as you can see, and there's a spot like this right here that's super shiny, but that's just too low. If I were to go down to that, I'd have to take, I don't know, 30 seconds off of the whole thing. Not worth it. We're just trying to make this better. But you can see there's some shine for sure still there. But we're gonna shine this back up anyway, so you won't notice that. What it'll just show is maybe a little bit of a sway when you look at the reflection, which is expected. But it'll be a lot better than it was before, which was like that. All right, squirting it down, getting ready to do my 500 Eberlon. I'll do this for a little bit. I'm just gonna show you. Basically, you just want to go in different directions with this. Even though it's orbital, I like going in different directions. And as you're doing this, you'll actually feel a little grip a little bit at the beginning. Grip, 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 grip. And then you know you're pretty much good to go to the next section when it starts gliding across. You know, not gliding, but, you know, there's less resistance. So that's one way to tell kind of when you have it pretty flat. All right, I'm gonna go to 1,000, then 2,000, then 4,000. Same process, just changing pads. I'll do that, and then I'll show you the next steps. Okay, I wanted to show you this real quick before I go to the next step. You can see, after using the Eberlon pad, that there's no shininess. Well, that's because these are foam-based pads, so they will go in the contours and get everything sanded, which is why earlier I said I'm not worried about those shiny spots showing through to the end, because they'll end up getting dulled down anyway. So it's very important to you to use the block sander first, as that's like your guide, right? That gets everything in a flatter. That's what gets rid of the orange peel or the ripples that you see in there. And You do that first, and then you go through with this, because this makes sure that everything's at the same sheen level, right? So you do 500 and it knocks it all down and it gets in all those grooves, so that when you're polishing it back up, everything looks uniform. So that's why you use the foam, but you don't use that first, not to get it as flat as possible. All right, so wanted to show you that, and then I'll continue going up with the grits, and then I'll take less and less scratches out, and then I'll do the rubbing compound, and I'll show you that. And again, after every one of these, we want to wipe all the residue off. We don't want that to go back into the surface. You know, there's some that might create more scratches than we want. Obviously, we're just scratching at the surface, which sounds kind of silly, but you know, wipe it off each time. Just keep that excess off of it. Make sure nothing gets trapped in there. And it's gliding really nice. So, all right, a couple more steps. All right, this is what it looks like going all the way up to 4,000. And you could see quite a difference there, right? That's what it was before. That's where it is now. But it's not quite as shiny as we would like, so I'm going to go ahead and use sheen polish rubbing compound, which is used for cars as well. And the way this works is I'm not using a polisher because that would spray everywhere. So I'm just doing this by hand, just using a rag. There's grit in the stuff, so I'm just working it in, pressing hard with my finger. I'll just do this spot here and show you. Hopefully the camera's not shaking too much. I don't know. Some elbow grease on this part here. Okay. Just keep working it in. Working it in. You can see it. The shine coming out. So all this is doing, this is really fine grit, and it's taking the fine scratches, like the top layer, that gives you this look, this dulled down look, which honestly I kind of like, but not everybody does. Some people want it nice and shiny. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do that, but you can see just by rubbing it in with your hand like this, and wipe it away. You can see the difference. So it's just getting those really fine scratches out, and it's super smooth. This has got a little bit of a drag to it, which again, some like, and this a little smoother. And you can definitely see the difference in the reflection. So basically, if I go all the way to this level, I get it back up almost to the same shine as this, but it's flat and smooth, and imperfections, many of the imperfections are out of it. So that's what we're doing. But yeah, that's the last part. This part here is a pretty manual process. There you go. So that shows you the different layers and levels. And you could stop at any level if you wanted it to be, got some compound there. If you wanted it to be dulled down, which if you didn't have the rocks under here, that might be just fine. Again, it doesn't show as much. It's flat, and it gives you a little different feel. Don't need it super shiny because it's reflective. So yeah, that's what it is. So you have that, and then you can come all the way back up to the shine that you want. So you have control of what shine you get back out of it. Biggest thing is using the flat block sand to get it as level as possible. And then everything else from there is just about bringing the shine to where you want it. I just want to get a video as we're going over it here. You can see a couple, scrape some high spots there. And then this is the part. It's been refinished. I haven't buffed that or anything. That's just sanded on the different levels. So it's not super shiny, but you can still see the reflection, obviously. Not quite like that. But that's kind of the difference right there. See how wavy this one is? And it's not perfect, because you have to go down quite a bit to get it, but you can see a lot better there. And of course the feel on it is definitely much better. But that's kind of the, half the bar is done and half is not. And I gotta get the high spots, but gives you an idea. And this really, at this point, is what do they want to do? Do they want to have it shinier? You know, I'm not going to get it to this shine. Well, you can if you spend a lot of time, but or do they want to keep it dull? So I'm going to get everything to that point, do a couple spots with rubbing compound, and see if that's what they want or not. But anyway. Well, after messing around with different combinations, I went back to the tried and true way of using the buffer. And I tried machine polish and then rubbing compound, different ones, and different techniques. And it all came back to throw the rubbing compound on, use that buffer, and just make sure you didn't make too much of a mess. So I built this area here that I just moved down and just do like a 2x2 section at a time. And you can see the difference here. See how that works. As we go this way, there's gonna be, yep, see how that light just fades away. So that's the difference in the shine. Just doing rubbing compound and buffing it out. So it's definitely shiny. I don't know if it's too shiny, but they wanted it shiny, so they're going to get shiny. And then we'll, do it those sections and get to that point, and we'll be good.